Recording in progress.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Good evening. I'm Tanya Morrow, Chair of the Rogue Valley Transportation District Board, and we're going to call the February 25th, 2026 regular meeting to order with a roll call, please. Luke?
Denise Kraus.
Here.
Jill Mansfield.
Here.
Tanya Morrow.
Yes.
Tyler Jasper.
Here.
Katrina Ernman Newton.
Here.
Dan Davis.
Here.
And Carl McNair.
Here.
There's a quorum.
Thank you. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes? Are there any suggested changes? Any comments? Okay, we'll deem those approved. Anyone not receive the monthly financial reports for January 26? Everybody's good? Everybody received those? All right. We have an update on our layoffs.
We do.
Hopefully it'll be a cheerful report, Kelly, but come on up.
We'll see. Okay. Well, Chair Morrow, Board, Kelly Matting, Operations Manager here at RVTD. And first, I'd like to thank Paige for putting this presentation together at kind of the last minute, not totally, but kind of. Julie Brown, our General Manager, wanted you all to get an update on the last 6 months, basically. We had a major layoff that occurred in reduced service starting September 2nd of 2025. And what you hear normally is what routes we reduced, what frequency we made, we went from 20-minute frequency to 30-minute frequency. We don't have Saturday service. You hear all that. But what we thought would be a good idea for the board to understand too is sort of what the layoffs were, what they did, and sort of some consequences of those layoffs, at least what we've been able to see in the first 6 months. Granted, I think we'll see more as time goes by, but in the first 6 months. So here is our organizational chart currently. It shows 75 employees. That's a reduction of 65 employees. We had 140 employees before the layoffs. So 140 employees down to 75, that's about half. We laid off about half of our staff. And it ran the gamut. There are very few departments that we'll go through that didn't see a reduction in staff. And if they didn't have a reduction in staff, it's because they're either doing exactly the same thing they were doing before, or the staff was really, really small. For example, like IT, a staff of 2. So here is our current organizational chart. What I'm going to go through is I'm going to go through all the departments. And what I want you to know is that the things that you're seeing, the things that we reduced, the things that we took a look at and have changed weren't just sort of a spontaneous reduction. These changes were very well thought out. Now, we didn't know if there were going to be unintended consequences of any of them, really, but we did think through what those changes would be when we did reduce our staff. So let's start with transportation. That's our biggest department. That's the department that our drivers are in. So we went from 80 drivers to 33 drivers or operators. We reduced our field supervisors from 5 people to 2 people. It's really 4 positions and 2 positions now. We eliminated our district trainer, and we reduced the service that we provide in terms of customer service at Front Street Station. What we did was we eliminated just strictly customer service people, and we moved our dispatchers in. So our dispatchers are now down at Front Street Station, and they're at the window. So they're providing customer service to those that come up and need a bathroom token, and they're also doing dispatching and scheduling. So we have, I will say this, that while, there's the other cost-cutting measures that we have, and it's, we reduced all travel and professional development expenses, the bulk of the cost-cutting measures, the bulk of the money saved is really in that top category, because you can imagine that the bulk of our expenditures are staff. So what are the impacts of that? Well, transportation is utilizing other managers to assist with some operational functions. And we've moved that training function in-house to another manager in transportation. And we're going to see how that goes. We have fewer operators to train, but that assistant transportation manager, we're going to see how that goes. That's new for her. It's not new for her being a trainer, but it's new for her having training added on to her duties. On to maintenance, which is our next largest department, we eliminated 8 positions, from fuelers to vehicle custodians to mechanics. In this department, resides all of our contracts for facilities and maintenance as well. So this is why you'll see we canceled our landscaping contract, because this is where facilities resides, in the maintenance department. We canceled our downtown security contract, and we reduced the level of janitorial service in all of our buildings. And the effect of that is that we still have the same number of buildings that facilities has to maintain. We have fewer buses, but we have fewer people. And so things aren't getting as cleaned as often as they were. Let me put it that way. If someone calls and says, I live across from a bus stop and there's trash all over, we will send someone out to clean it. And we have field supervisors that drive around to our bus stops and our routes that we're no longer running to see how things are. But we had a person that was just doing that. And we don't have that position anymore. And we've brought many things in-house, like the landscaping still has to be done because the grass still grows. So our staff is now doing those things, our maintenance staff. In the administrative department, which is where we saw the bulk of the management change, we eliminated the safety, security, and emergency manager position. We downgraded 2 managers, our HR manager and our administration manager, to an HR specialist and an executive assistant, and reduced both those positions to part-time. So those were full-time positions that we reduced to part-time. We froze management wages, steps, and COLAs, and we reduced health insurance rates by about 20%. And I'll give a big shout out to our finance manager who really helped with this. And that includes a 5.5% contribution by our employees, which was new. We canceled our federal and state public affairs contract, and we've reduced our travel and professional development. What that's done, amongst a variety of other things, is, we have our public affairs contract was really being our eyes and ears in Salem at the federal government. I think we see that intimately now with what's going on at the state. And we also we'll see it at the federal government as time goes by. And then we shifted the focus. The focus of our safety, security, and emergency manager had really been emergency management. You can imagine during the fire and after the fire, that was really necessary. And we've really changed the focus of that to safety programs. And who's doing that now is kind of a trio. Our transportation manager, our maintenance manager, and myself are really working on safety policies and procedures, developing a safety program, developing a repository for that safety program so employees have access to it. And while I think these changes have been good, they've added to people's plates that have relatively full plates to begin with. In finance eliminated 2 positions, and their main cost-cutting measure is keeping track of all expenditures. So when someone brings a purchase order that looks like that they may be going over their line item that they had budgeted, finance is asking about that. So their cost-cutting measures are all of our cost-cutting measures to make sure that we're instituting those appropriately. They count money because we take money still. So they're utilizing other staff to help with that, and they haven't been doing as much filing. Now, there are lots of things that the finance department does that they have to do. There's a tremendous amount of federal reporting that has to be done. So they're looking for ways of becoming more efficient because they have less people to do that work. Support services, that's the department that Paige oversees, and we eliminated 1 position there. We canceled our marketing and we just reduced, I think, to 0 our marketing and advertising budget, or thereabouts. I don't think it's 0, but it is reduced significantly. We have taken some programming that we had other consultants do, and we're bringing some of that in-house, and our staff is learning how to do some of those things. And then, of course, because we're not operating as many buses, we had software on all those buses, and we don't need to have software on the buses that we're not running right now. So we've eliminated that, which has reduced our cost. But in terms of the effect, we're not doing as much marketing as we had, or, getting information out to the public at large. We still get information out to the public that uses the bus, but to the public at large. Our staff is learning some new things. They're learning how to so our passengers get real-time information like via our app. Well, we had a company that was doing that, producing that real-time information, and now we're looking at producing that in-house and getting that out to our customers. So that is a learning curve for them, and but trying to do the same with less is where we are. And that's sort of the common theme you should have been hearing throughout this whole presentation, is trying to at least do the same with less. Our IT department, again, that was a department that didn't have any reduction because there are only 2 members of our IT department, and that is a very important department to us. What they're doing is looking at extending the replacement for our computers. For example, it used to be our computers were replaced every 3 years. And that was during a time when there were significant upgrades in computers occurring every year. And so 3 years was long enough, but we've extended that to 4 now. Well, because things with computer advances are slowing down a little bit, reducing our software licenses. And they're looking at some of the effects to the department are, we have been doing these network improvements, and TransLink is the last phase of our network improvements, and we're going to slow down on that and postpone that right now. And then we're looking at, we have radios that we use, Motorola radios. We have a very expensive contract, and we're starting to look at, because that contract expires in June of 2027, we're going to look at doing something different that will save us a tremendous amount of money. So they're starting to investigate that. And then finally, accessible transportation. At this point, or during that period of our layoffs, they didn't experience any layoffs because really other than Eagle Point, Jacksonville, and there's another part of Medford that they don't cover. They have to cover the same area. So there were no personnel reductions for accessible transportation. But we're working on in cost-cutting measures and in particular negotiating with paratransit services because we have a contract with them and we're looking at ways to become more efficient and reduce the cost of that contract because it's a fairly expensive contract. And then the other piece is they're transitioning to a new software system, and probably the efficiencies or the effect on the department that we'll see, which is a very positive one, is because the software is very efficient in terms of how it bundles rides, we will probably see the consolidation of trips, and so maybe fewer vehicles will go out, and that will save some resources. What I want to leave you with before I take any questions, and there's a whole group of people behind me that can answer any specific questions that you have that I can't answer, is we're just in the first 6 months. We know what we know, and we've made adjustments in what we know. And I think so far it's worked pretty well. I do think that the pace at which things are happening in the department, and because we have less staff to sort of keep that pace up, everyone is running really fast. And I look at our staff and want to make sure no one is burning out. And so I'm not sure how sustainable the pace that we're running is, but we're going to see. And then there are things that we don't know, that we didn't know, and maybe we lost some staff and we lost some historical knowledge and some things that we don't know that we need to do that we'll find out. So all in all, we're running very well. But I don't want you to think that there weren't impacts to internally to how the organization operates, aside from what the outer facing RVTD is, the buses, paratransit, those kinds of things. Internally, there are some impacts. And some of them are good because we'll see how to become more efficient. And some of them, we're going to see how fast we can run, how far we can run. And hopefully I think we're going to probably need to slow down a little bit at some point to maintain that sustainability and not burn people out. So with that, I'll open it up for questions. So I don't think it was terrible news, Chair.
No, it's hard.
But just being real.
I suppose there are some additional unemployment comp claims, is that right?
There were right in the beginning, absolutely. I mean, everyone who was laid off, I think almost everyone filed a workers' comp claim.
Sure.
So yes, that's true.
But I hope nobody's starving. I hope those people are able to get new jobs, is that?
Julie,
Well, I can tell you that some have. I've met with some of the employees that have. There's others that are still searching. Their unemployment runs out this month. So it's real to them now. For a lot of them, they said, well, I guess I better really start worrying about this. They were really hoping that something would happen with the transportation bill, and I'll talk about that in my report. But, the reality is everything that we thought was going to happen didn't happen, unfortunately. And so now this is our new reality of where we're at. So they're still positive, and I've still reassured them that if everything gets going again and we are able to put the services back and stuff, that they'll be eligible for rehire. They'll just have to come and apply like everybody else and start through the whole process again, which is unfortunate. But they're going to run out of time as far as a lot of our union employees, their seniority, they lose their seniority after a certain point. So it's good for a year. So they're good through the end of August as far as being called back.
Katrina?
I wanted to ask about the security contract because if memory serves, is there any kind of security happening right now at Front Street? And have you had any issues given that contract has ended?
So I should have probably rephrased that because the contract that we had, the way we had it before, that ended. We do have security coming at night. They come and go by Front Street 3 to 4 times a night. What we did was we moved our field supervisors. We have 2 field supervisors and we have 1 on staff at all times. We moved them downtown, which while they, don't look, our security, the security firm that we had hired, those people carried a firearm and they had, tactical vests and, you could see them. Our field supervisors don't look like that, but they are well known to the people that ride the bus, to our drivers. And we just met with the security company about 2 weeks ago. I met with them and everything is going fine. We aren't seeing a lot of people around here at night, and we're really not having that many problems. The other thing that we did was we instituted a trespass agreement with the city of Medford Police Department. And that basically gives Medford Police Department the ability to, if someone is trespassing on our property, we can call them and they can come, and if we can't get the people to leave or move, they can come and we can actually have them arrested. That rarely happens, I will tell you. But in the event that we do have something that kind of that level of security that we used to have would handle, we have a great partner in MPD. And so I'm knocking on wood because we really have not had a lot of issues. And we were all pleasantly surprised of that.
I'm so glad to hear it because that was my first thought was as somebody who made, when I was working for the public library system, made intense use of Front Street Station. Most of the time it was fine, but occasionally it could get a little rowdy out there. And I'm glad to hear that the folks who are there are not having a serious issue and that you've got partnerships that are working effectively to have somebody present in the event that it's needed.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Go ahead.
I had the same concerns as Katrina because an ounce of prevention, makes a huge difference sometimes. And because we haven't had a lot of problems, that's good news, but that doesn't mean we won't. And so I think that's something we have to keep in the forefront of our minds as to maybe something additional we could do beyond the supervisor's night supervisor.
We are keeping track of it. We get a report from our security company team every week that lets us know what was occurring at night. Our field supervisors report every day on their activities. And I will agree that if we see an uptick, if this was 4 years ago, I don't think I would be able to be saying the same thing that I am to you because it was very different, as you all know. Things have calmed down a lot. And so we're going to keep an eye on it, Dan. If things sort of start escalating, we'll be looking at something else possibly. But right now, I think that the way we're doing business with the security company and with the field supervisors that we have, and we have 2 very competent field supervisors. One is ex-police, and one is participates in the military. And the third, and we have a field supervisor that is out right now, and he also has a police background. So we have field supervisors that have that kind of law enforcement background, and they do, and we've chosen them for a reason. So I think we'll see how it goes. If it looks like things are getting a little out of hand here, we'll definitely make some adjustments and keep you
One thing
posted.
too with our field supervisors, just so you know, is yes, they have that background, but they also have compassion. and they have understanding. And like with our one field supervisor who's filling in right now, he was our veterans coordinator. So, they have this background of understanding what the resources are out there, how to get help for people, and are really good at trying to get to the root of the problem versus just misbehavement. So if somebody's misbehaving, that's one thing, but usually there's something that's causing that. And so they're pretty good at having that conversation and fishing it out of them and then getting them the help they need, which I'm really proud of our employees because I think even our drivers do that. So it's a nice change.
Yeah, I'm sure they have to.
Yeah, they don't have a choice.
Has MPD been very responsive and quick to respond?
Yes,
Problem.
yes. They're great. They've been a great partner for us. And when I came on board, I had assumed that we had a trespass agreement with MPD because a lot of downtown businesses do. But they actually reached out to me and said, Kelly, RVTD doesn't have a trespass agreement. Would you like to have one? And I said, oh, yes. And I put down all the properties that RVTD owns, including every bus stop that we have, everything. So if we have someone out that's, erected a hammock at one of our bus shelters, which has happened, and we stop and say, hey, you need to move, and they don't, and they don't want to, we can call Medford Police and they'll come and help us. So they've been a great partner for us. And we don't use them very often because, like Julie said, our field supervisors have great skills at de-escalating situations and giving people chances to do the right thing and being compassionate. So we don't use Medford Police a lot, but when we do need them, they come.
Good.
I was wondering about the 20% reduction in the health insurance premiums. Was that just because of the having fewer employees insured, or was that actually a negotiated lower rate?
Negotiated lower rate. We have in our labor contract that if the premium goes up more than 5%, we can reopen that contract. And our health insurance had gone up way more than 5% over the 3 years that had gone by in the contract. And so we reopened that with the union. They came to the table. We had a really kind of robust discussion. We had 3 plans that we offered the members, which as the union went, so did the rest of RVTD. And we negotiated 2 policies. So our employees have kind of a choice. They can pay a little more to have their deductible be a little bit less, or they can pay less and have their deductible more. So it actually gives people a choice. If people are really using their health insurance, they may want to contribute more, or people who don't really use it very much often opt to contribute as little as possible or have to pay as little as possible. So it really, while it wasn't directly, the cause of us doing that wasn't necessarily the layoffs, it all happened at about the same time.
Okay.
Hey, Kelly, I've got one question for you. How are we looking to proactively address burnout such that we don't reach that terrible event horizon of realizing our burnout is apparently bad enough that we've now lost like several key staff?
I tell a lot of jokes and they seem to be pretty receptive to those. No, not at all.
I was gonna say, and I swear a lot.
You have a masseuse on staff?
It is.
I think it really, honestly, it goes back to we just have to watch out for each other.
Yeah.
And just have those conversations. I mean, burnout is true and it's happening. And there's also depression here. So we go in these waves of, like Kelly says, she'll come in and make some jokes. I tend to do something a lot worse than that. And usually just tell them, okay, that's it. I quit. I'm leaving. And then they're like, no. But honestly, we're just trying to stay ahead of it and watch it. And I think the way that you really deal with it is you have to be really in tune with the workload that your employees have, and then just being able to shift it again. So if somebody is being overrun and they just can't handle it, then somebody else has to pick up the pieces. And I'll give you a good example is this legislative session has been a nightmare. To the point where, these guys have been really great about, since I don't have a lobbyist, although we did have them, we struck an agreement for them to give us a really small contract of be my ears and eyes and give me a call if I have to get on the road and be up there, and that has happened. But they're picking up the pieces of things that I can't do. It's like, guys, I can't do this because I have to focus on this. And again, it gets back to teamwork. So if we stay in our philosophy or our values of RVTD of that we are a team and that we work together, you cover each other. But we're going to have to be realistic about at some point of we can't be everything to this community. And we may have to shift what our focus has been in the past. And another example would be our bicycle program. So we, under our planning department, we had one position that was covered through a grant that we worked on people's bicycle, and we promoted bicycling and trying to be involved in all those things in our community. We might have to let that go. So we're just evaluating all those things and just trying to figure out what is it, the core that we can handle with the staff that we have. And it's kind of unfortunate.
How would you say morale is in general?
Not good. It's not. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not good, especially for the people that were laid off. It's really bad. For the people that are here that went from full-time to part-time, they're not happy because all of a sudden, they've lost half their hours. There's a lot of blame that goes around, I think, and I'll be responsible for that blame. It's like nobody ever anticipated the level of cutting that we were going to have to do because of the promises that were made at the state level of, if you build a system, we will fund it to run. Well, that didn't come true. And so now it's like, even for the community that was, dependent on us, we put all this great service out there. We were doing all these things because that's what the money was for. And I was proud that RVTD didn't hold on to their money and they did put into the community. But then when you can't sustain that, what do you do? So you had to pull back. So this too will pass. It's not the best place to be. Been there a couple times in my career. And all we have to do now, I think, really is just being realistic. Like, let's be realistic with each other, what we can do and what we can't do, and tell each other. So when we get into budgeting with the board and with our budget committee, it's like, yeah, these things are great, but we can't afford it. The health insurance went from being a really robust Cadillac kind of plan to a really crappy healthcare benefit, but it's what we can afford. And so at this point, I think people understand, but it doesn't make them happy. And I think also giving them the ability to vent and say that. Like, my door is always open. I allow them to come in and tell me how much they don't like something, or that they are disappointed in me or in the district or in their situation. And then I try to find a way to deal with that. I think that's the other thing is we've been really spending a lot of time looking at resources, finding counseling for them, finding financial counseling for them, looking at other ways that they can do things, because you live within your means. A lot of people do this. And so now all of a sudden they don't have the means and they have to make hard decisions, and then trying to help them through those.
So I don't know how long you think we can last, another 6 months or so, but I'm just going to throw this out that those that have available time, there is something incredibly rewarding on a mental health level of being out there in the community and advocating for transportation. And we have 3 months to do a lot of that, at least for RBTD's levy, as well as, working in opposition to any referendum. So, we can, not supposed to do stuff here, but we can get the word out that we are going to have a robust campaign and everybody should join because it is really awesome to be out there talking to your neighbors about this type program. So there's that. Maybe that'll hold us out for 3 months.
And I'm glad you brought that up because that is something, the other thing we're going to be doing is we'll be having an all-staff meeting in a couple of weeks to sit down and really letting them talk to us and tell us and get their feelings out because they need to. And
then we'll have more hope too.
yes.
Right? Because hope is another thing that keeps us going.
And I think that that's one of the things is we're going to give them resources to get in touch with the Political Action Committee of RVTD, with the board members, reaching out to the board members to get involved and stuff. And we've told them this all along. None of this can happen without their support to their legislators either. Picking up that phone and making those phone calls and doing those things are so important. You have to be active, and this goes through anything. It's not just RVTD, it's any city, county that's experiencing the same things we are. And I will send you a podcast that I just did called Unplugged, Transit Unplugged, a while back, that talked about really why all transit agencies are in this dilemma nationwide. And what we're seeing, and it really isn't just, it's not just transit, it's all government agencies and services throughout the nation that are getting a hit now of, there was all this COVID money that was thrown at all of us to shore up and do all these great things, and now it's all gone. And there's no money to sustain those great things. So I'll send you that anyway.
Did you have
Wonder where the money went. Wonder where the money went. And sorry, but I have to say it. We know where it went. And I just have a question though. The people that have been laid off, will they be given a priority to come back because of their experience?
So there's two different things. We have employees that are under a union contract versus employees that are not. So the employees that are not, there is no seniority rehire. People that are under a CBA, we will call back in that seniority level. So whatever their seniority, it doesn't matter their experience, it's going to be by seniority, up to 1 year. So that's where I talked about the August clock, or the 1st of September. All employees, it doesn't matter who they are, have the right to apply for any job and will be given consideration for that, for whatever job they apply for. They may not have applied for the job they had before, maybe something else. But all employees, of course, we have a no rehire policy if you're let go, but it really doesn't apply to this. We would not consider this a no rehire. What they would do is they would apply like everybody else and they'd be given consideration for the job.
As long as they weren't let go for cause, right?
Right. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Good,
there's
Joe.
the hope thing.
In regards to burnout, I like jokes, I like meetings and open door policies. I do also like data. Do we have like an annual anonymous employee feedback survey or anything like that we currently do that has questions about like, hey, how bad is your burnout? Like you can put on here if like you are actively looking or thinking of looking elsewhere so that we know that like it's truly reached that level. Because what I worry about is
There's not a question like, can we lynch the general manager? But but no, that's something that we could do. We could reach out and do something like that. I don't know that people will be totally honest, but we can try. You know, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah, just because I do like the having a meeting and having the open door, but when someone is at the point to where they're seriously thinking about applying elsewhere and going elsewhere with their skills, at that point, they're no longer going to engage in a door that happens to be open, or maybe not talking at the meeting where they're given opportunity to comment, because they're already that close to making up their mind. So getting some data on that before it happens would be great. Though I do trust your management of the kind of the ad hoc day to day, how to manage burnout. I do totally trust you folks with that. But if we're already doing some kind of annual survey for employee feedback, we might as well toss a burnout question on there if there's not one already.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay. We can do something like that.
We need a punching bag. I'll just be honest. We need a punching bag.
I do too.
Okay, well, you can come over and we'll let you punch it.
Thank you.
Okay.
While we're talking about data though, too, another thing that we might do is if we have any data about like the spring and summer months and about how activities that need security might increase, then it'd be worthwhile to, instead of waiting for stuff to happen, but just to give ourselves an idea as to when
That's when
things
everybody's,
generally do get heightened. So
Yeah.
I just throw that out.
people come move up here,
Right.
all those things happening. Although with Greyhound not stopping here anymore, it
Oh.
seemed to kind of slow that down a little bit of dumping of people at the border.
But we should keep an eye on that because it hasn't been a full year. And so we did have that security in the spring of
Right,
2025,
that's-
right?
yep.
So we'll keep an eye on that as well. But thank you for.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Along that same line, have you talked to the security company about maybe a reduced level of service where they are at least occasionally seen, maybe once or twice a day instead of 4? And that people don't keep track of that. If they don't, they've at least seen a presence.
And we did talk to them about that. Of course, they're willing to do it. I would venture at this point, if they were honest, they would say we don't need it, but that could change. And so, and like I said, and if it does, if we start to see an uptick, and we won't let it go because, we need to maintain the safety for our staff and our customers down here. We would move on that fairly quickly. And I think we can, like, for example, we hired that security company and they're very good. They're good because they're also compassionate and they can also direct people to service or, they have sleeping bags. And I think we had a gentleman that was around here one eve late at night and was saying, I just need a sleeping bag. I need something. And they had, they keep some of that stuff in their vehicles. So they gave him a sleeping bag and he kind of moved on. But we had hired them and they were armed. They also have the ability to do security unarmed. And what does that look like? And so I think we are amenable to doing something if we need to, but we are looking at every dollar we spend and how we spend it, and we want to spend every dollar as best we can. And so until we need it, I wouldn't recommend that we do it yet, but we'll keep an eye on it.
Katrina? Nice hand.
So returning to burnout for a moment, is there a role for the board to play in helping the district stay proactive in staying ahead of burnout before it gets into the doom spiral that Tyler alluded to?
I don't know if there's any one thing. I do know that your support for our staff matters. Your trust and support. I mean, it's not unconditional, and I recognize that. But this group behind me of managers is doing a yeoman's job. And so you being appreciative and you showing that at the board meetings, I mean, I'm not going to ask anyone to come down and, type some letters or, answer some emails. But your support is really, really important. I think often board members or city councilors or those kinds of people don't think it's that important, but it really is. And so I think if you just keep that up where you do see good things happening, you see people being innovative and doing a good job, and we'll let you know to show your appreciation.
I was going to say too, when you ride the bus and you let them know you're on the bus, it makes a difference.
Okay.
They think a lot of that. It's like, wow, we had a board member on our bus, and so we have that opportunity coming up anyway.
Because
Right?
I'm a board member.
You know what?
I've done that with
Maybe I should wear a
drivers.
tag.
Usually the driver tells.
Oh,
them.
they do?
They
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, in the past, I know the board when we were working on our levy would ride the bus and talk to passengers. And so that's going to make a difference too.
Okay.
That helps them realize that you really care, you're trying, you're working towards that's going to be important to them. So they know that you are working towards their future.
Yeah, because that's part of what I understand my role to be as a member of the board is I want the district to do well, and I'm trying to help.
We can take shifts as punching bags. I've got Tuesday.
There you go.
I am not volunteering for that. No way.
Don't tempt it.
Okay.
But like,
Thank you.
if you want to, I'll if I can, if I find a suitable piece of exercise equipment, I will follow up.
So I think it's pretty well agreed with the board that we do appreciate the staff and management of this organization. And I've expressed it frequently that I think it's one of the most outstanding organizations that I've ever worked with, and that's a lot. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Well, I think we beat that thing to death.
Well, it was nice to engage in that, so.
Well, I just thought you would like that update.
It was good, thank you.
So we're going to move on to hopefully not too much wordsmithing, but we have our explanatory statement to approve. That's our new business. And everybody got a copy of it. I'll just start off by saying I was really pretty impressed with the work.
That was a beautiful piece of work.
Yep.
I believe that Paige did much of it and the rest of the staff, Kelly, whoever did it is just beautifully done.
Very well done. Anybody else?
I have to agree. When I read it, I said, this does the trick. This is really good. Very well done.
I do have one question. For the language for SEL 803, last page in this packet, does that fall under the scope of the explanatory statement or no?
Yeah, I think that's where we are. I don't think we have anything else on it.
Okay, the only question I had on it was in the second to last paragraph, there's a bit that says RVTD provided over 1 million rides in 2024 to 2025 period. I wasn't sure if there was supposed to be the in between in and 24 to 2025 or not. It read a little odd to me, but I wasn't sure if it was a word left out or not. If that's intentional language, I'm fine with it.
Move approval.
Spare.
All right, so you guys will look to see whether you could fit in if it makes sense. Yeah,
I mean, if I could ask who wrote it, if it was, oops, I forgot a word, then okay, great, let's add it back. If it was, no, I think this makes sense as is, then I'm happy with it too.
Okay,
Right.
wait, I'm
Motion
going to
on
have
the floor.
Luann explain.
Okay. So you got the request for ballot title, and that's the SEL 805.
Is that what you're?
Look at that.
I'm looking at, it says language for SEL 803.
Okay, that's going to be different.
Okay,
That is definitely different. The
So
way
that's
it's
the
gonna
one that's
read-
going in.
Correct. It's going to be the same as the 805.
Okay, so tell me, Tyler, where you found the mistake. What is it?
I don't know if it's a mistake per se or not, but on that language for SEL 803 page at the end of the packet, second to last paragraph, about midway down, RVTD provided over 1 million rides in a 2024 to 2025 period. I wasn't sure if it was supposed to be 1 million rides in the 2024 or 2025 period or not.
It says the previous year now.
It says, okay,
That's what it's going to say.
great. That works for me.
All right. Okay, we have clarity and we are talking now about the proposed explanatory statement and we've got a motion to approve. Any discussion? No,
I can't
it's all
believe we
good.
got it in with 3 words to spare. Like,
We
hot
didn't give
dang.
you, we didn't give you any extra words. Like, hey.
All right.
Wanted to add
Go
that
ahead.
I also think this was very well done.
Yeah. Yay. All around. Good job. We don't even need a roll call, do we? No. For the record.
Acclamation.
Go ahead.
Okay, Denise Kraus,
Yes.
Bill Mansfield,
Yes,
Tanya Morrow, Tyler Jasper,
Yes.
Katrina Ernman Newton,
Yes?
Dan Davis, Carl McNair.
Yes.
7 yes votes.
Thank you. All right, now we have our annual decision to decide whether we want to make Debbie Wilbur our budget officer and force that role upon her again this year. All righty. Any discussion on that? Looks like none. So might as well, we always like our roll call. So go ahead, people. Thank you.
Yes. Denise Kraus,
Yeah.
Bill Mansfield,
yes,
Tanya Morrow, Tyler Jasper.
Yes.
Katrina Ernman Newton,
Yes?
Dan Davis.
Yes.
Carl McNair.
Yes.
7 yes.
General manager reports.
General managers reports. Okay, so we've got a couple things. At the last meeting, I talked to you about doing presentations with the city councils and talking about what we're going to do. And you all, thank you, let us know what your schedules were. We do have a schedule that, did you hand this, you handed this out, right?
Yep.
Okay, a schedule that is in front of you for going with either Kelly and myself or just with Kelly. And these are the dates that we have set. Now, we still, Tanya, we didn't put you down. There's one for April 1st. Not that it's supposed to be April Fool's Day, but
Here, put me down. Yeah,
do you want to do talent? Okay.
wherever.
All right, so we'll put you there. So that means each one of you is responsible for one. These are the dates that we had selected, and if they don't work for you, let us know and we can do some shifting. We're getting together the talking points for you so that you can actually speak. So it's not going to just be standing there. You get to have a leading role in.
Slide deck too?
There will be a slide deck. So we'll get all that to you ahead of time so you can see it. And then the first one on March 3rd, Carl in Jacksonville, does that work for you?
Yes.
Okay, I will not be there. I'm going to be in Washington DC, but Kelly will be there. So if it goes really wrong, it's Kelly's fault. Just wanted to say that.
I'll share the blame.
Okay, there you go. What, see, team player. All right. But I think that this is going to be, everybody was responsive, and I think it's really a good opportunity for it to get in front. We have not scheduled the county commission meeting yet. She's working on it, but we'll see where we get with that. And then there'll be other opportunities like Rotary. Then Katrina, you'll also be able to, we'll probably do one at Tradco. What else am I missing? I know that I'm already, the Rotaries are kind of starting to contact me. I think that, so we'll get those set out and there's other opportunities again, but we'll get all the materials to you right away.
SOU Board of Trustees is still in there, right?
Excuse me, what?
Is the SOU Board of Trustees still in there?
Yes.
Good.
And
Okay.
so yes, RCC and SOU are both still on there. So we're still working and getting through the list. Not everybody is as responsive as Kelly seemed to have some pull with the cities, so it worked out pretty good. They all seemed to know her.
I wonder why.
The second thing I wanted to let you know is I will be in Washington DC next week. The entire week. There is a summit back there for CEOs. I'm speaking at it as the president of CTAA. And then also we'll be spending the day on the Hill on Thursday. I'll see our congressional delegation, all of them. And I don't know if you heard the news, but we actually got an appropriation of $2 million that we thought was gone forever, but it is for electric vehicles for our Valley Lift paratransit system. And it was in what they classify an earmark or congressional spending bill. And it was put into an appropriations that actually went through. Nobody thought it would ever happen. We kind of gave up on it a couple of years ago, and then all of a sudden it came back, and I was notified by Senator Merkley and Senator Wyden's office that we actually got it. So it was a surprise. It also caused me to have a little bit of a, oh no, now what? Because now we're going to have to match that grant. But the good news is that we have lots of time to spend the money. So it doesn't have a really short time crunch like a grant. So we'll start our planning. And if you remember from last year, we also have additional money through the state of Oregon for our fleet. And as those Valley Lift vans they really don't have a very long life cycle, about 5 to 7 years. As they are actually coming offline, we'll be able to replace them with electric vehicles. So that's good news. So we actually have a way to replace our vehicles. And the technology now is a lot less in costs. So
They announced to the NPO that it's less than we anticipated it was going to be.
right.
Yep.
So the price of an electric vehicle has come down and the technology has gotten better on those small vehicles. Not so much on the buses, but on the small vehicles it has. So that's good news.
Do we have chargers already for those?
So included,
Grant.
it's part of the grant is chargers. So we'll be getting the chargers on top of that.
Great.
And so that's one of those projects where Nick Black and then we'll be working with Paratransit Services and with Tim Fountain to try to figure out how we roll that out and what the replacement is, along with, of course, Debbie is going to be key to that, the keeper of the money, which none of us want to go visit her.
I have her down as the austerity comptroller.
There you go. If anything, she's the one that can crush our morale because she tells us no a lot. She's constantly hauling us into her office going, we have an agreement here. You have a budget, a cash budget, and you are trying to spend beyond it. So we've had a few of those conversations, but you know what? This is where just working as a team. I mean, sometimes we have a little bit of a yelling match that goes on. I think Kelly, Debbie, and I had one of those on Friday where everybody else left the building. They were like, we're leaving because this is going to get hot. But we have to keep working towards that and trying to figure out a way to land this. And I'm just thankful that the people that I work with are very forgiving. We forgive each other, like we slap each other around pretty hard. And then it's like, okay, well, let's go get a beer and we're okay. We just have to do that because right now, I mean, this was really good news, this $2 million, but I'm telling you, when I hung up the phone, I was like, oh no, what do I do now? Because I have the match.
Is it 10 or is it 20?
20%.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately.
What's the total amount?
2 million. So again, you'd think that I'd be jumping up for joy. And in fact, I was not. I was like almost in the fetal position crying, going, this isn't in the cash budget and I don't want to have to go tell Debbie.
Well, I've been told I have a couple of years to worry about.
That's right. So we know we have some time and really it works out perfectly with our replacement schedule. It's going to work out perfect. So I'm just really thrilled.
Do they have to be electrics?
Yes.
Can they be hybrids?
They have to be electric. So that was part of the agreement.
Was it both of our senators that did?
Mm-hmm. It was both of our senators. So I will be taking them a thank you note. I was going to try to draft up a thank you note and have all of you sign it, and I didn't get it done, but I will sign it on behalf of this board and the employees here at RBTD, and then go and meet with them personally and thank them. So they've been great. They've been very, very good to us. That's for sure.
They're very supportive of everything in Oregon.
They are. So and there's just a lot going on, but I think we'll be okay. And like I said, I think in some ways this is good news because we were kind of worried on how we were going to replace the Valley Lift fleet. Because normally you can't get money for Valley Lift, or not for Valley Lift, for paratransit. So those small vehicles, the federal government doesn't like to bond money and give you money to do that. And so this is a great opportunity.
Good for Paige.
Yes, and Paige did an excellent job. She's not showing her face, probably because she's very tired. But yeah, everybody works
There
great
she
on it.
is.
So there you are, Paige.
Getting late back then.
It is getting late back there, so. And Paige will be out here soon for our all-employee meeting and be here for a few days, so you'll get to see her in person, maybe, if you happen to pop into the district. Okay, the last thing is, I wish I could tell you that affirmatively that the referendum is going to be on the May ballot. No, it's not passed yet.
It wasn't today like the deadline for?
Well, I thought, but it got kicked and I don't know.
I mean, as far as them to get it onto the ballot.
They actually, they have, yeah, so I think the vote is going to take place tomorrow.
If one party doesn't boycott the meeting.
Well, I think that they might be able to get it passed. I think they're going to get it passed. I think that they're dealing with it right now. We'll see where it
They
lands.
boycotted it twice.
I know, but I think there's
You think
some,
they're going to appear at the meeting this time?
maybe.
Hopefully. Huh.
It's hope again.
It's hope. I just kind of,
And you have enough votes to pass it if you have a quorum, is that right?
I don't know.
Okay.
You know, honestly, I don't know anything anymore when it comes to the legislature because it's wild. It's a wild ride. But right now they're working on the dash amendments to the bill. So there was a whole bunch of things that were thrown on it and they're trying to get through that right now. And I think that they have a process. So what I was told, I was on a meeting right up until I came in here with the governor's office and I think we're close. So
Okay, that just means it's gonna be on our May ballot.
unfortunately, yes.
So, but we're gonna get geared up, so we can work on both,
Yep.
right? No changing.
Let's see the enthusiasm over there. You betcha.
Forward on our levy, right?
Got it,
We're gonna do
team.
it,
See,
okay?
all right. See, I can
All right.
rally the troops.
I was very diligently writing my plan, which is why I didn't say anything.
Okay. So I think that's the end of my report as far as, I think I'm so glad that we've landed the explanatory statement because that was just about every day we met. I was so sick of it. I was like, I won't repeat the letter or the words I put in it.
Well, it shows the hard work you guys did.
They did a good job. So we laughed and joked, but there was one, I said, please don't save that copy because if that got out to a bad thing. All right.
Any other reports from staff?
I'm missing anything.
Oh.
Nope. I think that is it.
Any comments from the board? We'll move on.
I'm sorry.
Good.
We're very excited. Bill can go first.
I'm sorry,
Oh, I was, just for general comments. The whole board doesn't necessarily need this, but I am really curious about our program where we give out some bus passes to nonprofits in the area. I would love some more info, ideally emailed to me about that, mostly because I had a nonprofit reach out to me directly and say, hey, we have this program that we're doing that we think we could really, really use some bus passes to make this program succeed.
So let me ask one real quick question. Have we have we obligated all bus? So there's no availability this year?
Somebody doesn't pick some up and we won't know. We usually don't allocate those until like May. Like last minute, if someone who was awarded some doesn't pick them up by May, we usually reach out to them if they're not going to get them, and we might have a few to give out. If not, then they have to wait until the second biennium ends.
So it'd be July 1 before there's available.
Yeah, you have to wait.
Oh, we're-
another year after.
So is the second part of the biennium,
It's all.
they're all awarded? Okay.
I mean, is there
A little bit more, Tyler. So the funds that we use reimburse the district for the bus passes that we distribute, and they come from the statewide transportation improvement funds, the STIF funds. So it's not like RVTD is just printing passes and giving them out to the community in an unlimited quantity. We have $100,000 every biennium that comes out of our STIF formula grant, which is around $3.5 million per year. Part of that funding goes towards the bus pass distribution. It reimburses us for any bus passes that we distribute to the community, up to $100,000 per biennium. The remaining of that funding, as you can imagine, goes towards fixed route bus service and our Valley Lift service. So we are in a cycle right now for the 25-27 biennium. We did a solicitation where we request applications community-wide. Anyone's allowed to apply. You have to be a 501c3. You have to serve low-income populations. And if you qualify for those, then we go through a very long process with our STIF advisory committee to determine the awards. That has already happened for this biennium. And so in the next cycle, which would be 27-29, we'll reopen that entire process again. There will be $100,000 available for us to distribute again. What Debbie and Edom are talking about is sometimes, and at the end of the biennium, so it would be like spring of 27, we realize that some of the nonprofits that were awarded the bus passes never quite picked them up. And so that means we have a little amount, sometimes it's like $10,000, it's not much, of bus passes that we can say, we're gonna reopen and do a mini solicitation and see if there are other nonprofits that want to apply for those. We're not at that point yet. And so essentially, we don't have any bus passes at this time to be distributing. However, when we do receive requests for that, we absolutely want to hear about it. We want to understand what their need is. We want to determine, if they're eligible, and for us to be able to get them, essentially in queue for that mini solicitation. So if you wouldn't mind passing that information on to myself or to Edom, we'll follow up with them and try to find out some more information.
I will do that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Katrina, you have a comment or question?
Comment. I wanted to share with the board and all of you that I was contacted by JPR for their Rural Voices segment that they're going to be doing on March 4th. And Meg Wade and myself, and I reached out initially to fellow board member Carl about finding a third person because they wanted a third person for that conversation about the role of public transportation in rural communities. And we have found our third person. It's going to be Scott Chansey from Josephine County. And so the three of us on March 4th at 9 o'clock in the morning will be chatting about how valuable public transportation is in our rural communities specifically. So I wanted to share that because it's exciting.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Good luck with that. Okay,
I'm excited. I get to talk to people about a thing I love, public transportation in rural communities.
go ahead, Bill. What happened to
Okay.
the car?
Nothing of any particular significance to the board today. The auditor presented her audit, which was fine, but there's nothing new about that. That completes my report.
Yeah, I was sort of dual tasking when was at the MPO. We had a tip amendment for our buses. And there is a change of the guard, and there is a discussion about a effort to bring in tribal voices to the MPO table. So they're working on something along those lines. So that's it. Anything else you want to share, Paige? Nope.
Who's the change of the guard?
Nick Card, who's been at about 5 meetings, he's now the chair, and Mr. Pulte is the vice chair. Eleanor stepped back from the role. Okay. What else do we have? Tradco. Who's got Tradco?
Katrina.
So I was unable to attend due to flu to the last meeting, but I believe that some other people were there.
So you were there. If you want to come up, because I was actually testifying at the Capitol, so I was not there.
Yep, I think it was Kelly who was able to make it this time.
Right. I went to Tradco and I made a report on the levy and let them know that the board was putting that forward on the May election. And the main talk was really about what was going on in Salem. And John Watt talked about the fact that when he was part of the legislature, ODOT had said, there is going to come a time when for maintenance and operations, there is going to be this cliff. And he said, and we are here. So he just gave a report on that, but there wasn't much other than that.
Thank you. All right. RV Act.
RV Act did not meet, meets on March 10th.
All right. Lots going on there.
And did you see, Denise, that they're going to meet in person out at the count? Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure you saw that. I think it came out today.
They've been having an option. You could do it hybrid, but I've been going in person.
Anything else for the good of the order? Okay, we're adjourned. Thank y'all.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a good night, and so help me, I'll be there next time.
Yeah. Your
Bye.
chocolate will still be here.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
What?